The hatred towards one another we witnessed in 2020 is evidence of how far we have moved away from the love and compassion desired by God and preached by His Son, Jesus Christ. A majority of this country professes to be Christians, and our nation's founding was formatted by that philosophy. Christianity is based on the loving compassion taught by Jesus and faith that He died for our sins as a means for those believers to enter heaven. How do those beliefs harm anyone? How could it possibly benefit the world to be rid of a religion founded on love and forgiveness, and in the end, possibly paradise? God allows for free will, and no one can be forced into belief or desired behavior. Since we have by free will accepted, nevertheless, as a country, actions and deeds contrary to God's commandments, many believe we are now reaping the malevolent harvest of those decisions. The purveyors of Christian disparagement, the atheists, have succeeded in eroding America's faith in God to the degree that we now actively promote disunity and hatred rather than brotherhood and compassion. Devoid of God's influence, we shall likely never recover. That's why I expose atheism for what it is and how we've allowed it to destroy our faith in God and thereby His moral imperatives. Atheism seeks aggressively to pursue the destruction of our faith in God, Jesus, and the Bible. And to what ends? Think about that. As a result, instead of advancing as a harmoniously empathetic society, we've de-evolved into segregated bands of self-serving cretins. If you doubt that, review the news footage from 2020. As God has been systematically removed, our compassion and empathy for others has increasingly dissipated. As atheism membership has prospered, our country has united into enormous hate groups. While atheists spend their resources and energy on disproving God's existence, Christians continue to be ridiculed, persecuted, hated here, while thousands of others are being tortured and killed all over the world. Do Christian lives matter? Is that all a coincidence, by the way, that all this is going on while Christians are disappearing? As a review of past videos, I begin by presenting the truth regarding supposed evidence having been accumulated by atheists over the last 3 centuries disproving God. Given the focus and resources contributed to that cause over time, I related how I was initially shocked to find that zero empirically based scientific evidence disproving God actually existed. I discovered that the evidence filling books, documentaries, internet presentations, and public debates turned out to be unsupported theories, hypotheses, and unfounded conclusions that were based entirely on vapor, like a Ponzi scheme. It's their appearance of validity that's built on a teetering structure of illusion, delusion, sophisticated presentations, misdirection, and lies posed as truth. If what I'm saying seems too unbelievable, let me make it clear. They, that's the atheist, and we, the Christians or believers, have both acknowledged that it's logically implausible to prove something invisible does not exist. And yet, they keep offering evidence to support that proof that supposedly does not exist. What proof exists for something which cannot be proven, as once again is admitted to by the atheists themselves? Our perception of science, atheism's main support system for disproving God, is that it is entirely empirically and objectively founded, but that is a complete and utter fabrication. The nature of theoretical physics, by its very nature, is based on guesses and suppositions. The word theoretical is in the title. Regardless, to seduce government research funding, they falsely imply or disingenuously claim that they're on the cusp of discovering the seminal foundations of virtually all matter, space, and time. Ridiculous as that is, government bureaucrats and laymen are clueless that a large portion of those funds are used to fund efforts to erode our faith in God. Remember, they're claiming potential absolute knowledge of the universe in the context of, to this point, barely grasping any of it. In other words, from a proportionally speaking minuscule amount they claim to have figured out, they even remain clueless as to that little tiny bit's origins, where it came from, how it came to function, and why it was formed, and how it functions in the first place. I'm going to be blunt here. All that science has been doing all these centuries with, relatively speaking, unlimited efforts and financial resources is report on the pre-existing behavior of already existing matter and forces, which they then fashioned into what we perceive as human progress. That's why we look up to them. That's why we listen to anything they say. For example, all the incredible advances in medicine would not exist were it not for the pre-existing propensity for the body to heal itself. In other words, without our body's pre-programmed autoimmune and regeneration systems, no one would exist. An open womb, for example, would be prone to endless bleeding and certain infection without the body's sophisticated healing systems. Doctors have simply been trained to efficiently and effectively access and deploy the body's network of pre-existing survival methods. Without it, or without them, all wounds could kill, and every virus and bacteria would potentially end mankind, no matter what doctors did. In other words, doctors don't heal. I'm sorry to tell you this, but it's pre-programmed human physiology that heals. That goes for COVID-19. In its case, science and the medical profession have been seeking the key to unlocking the body's immunity mechanisms. They have, like they do with all other sicknesses, they have not been looking to kill the virus, in other words. They've been seeking ways to manipulate the body's own defense mechanisms into doing it for them. Where did this immune system come from without a conscious intellect to construct and engage its initial processes? Atheists would have you believe these systems arose out of a magical survival imperative. They came from where? So, without a consciousness, the implication being that a myriad of complex physiological self-manufactured systems, somehow self-constructed bio-based virus assassins without any outside intelligent assistance. In other words, they want you to believe that magic is the reason why we heal. Likewise, few technical advances would have arisen from a world without the pre-existing electromagnetic spectrum, force fields, and various energy sources, etc., which again, mankind has figured out very clever ways to manipulate those phenomena into practical usage. We didn't invent them, have never physically viewed any aspect of their essence, nor are we remotely aware of how they originated or what generated them from what realm. Again, with the profound ignorance of the universe I've just described, the atheistic community is nevertheless 100% certain of one thing, that no God exists. And that's even in the context of an open-minded conceptual dynamic supported by them and their partner scientists, where imaginary multiple dimensions and universes, as well as trendy theories of the month like string theory, can all be accepted, rewarded, and even celebrated without the remotest trace of empirical evidence supporting their existence. Oh my God, it's such a joke. And we're on to video 8.